Welcome back to our channel. In today's video, I'm gonna be taking you through on how coal is used to generate electricity in a coal power plant. We'll take you through the basic layout of a power plant. We then look at the pros and cons of using coal as a source of energy. But before we start our video, please make sure that you subscribe to our channel, like our videos, you comment on the comment section, but most importantly, please make sure that you hit the notification bell so that you don't miss out on our future videos. Using coal to generate electricity is not similar as the process that you follow when you make a fire at home. So it basically follows the fire triangle. In the fire triangle, you need three sources. You need heat, you need fuel, you need oxygen. If you lose any of the three, you automatically lose the fire. So in a coal power station, it's a similar process that is followed. The fuel being coal as well as oil. So let's look at the basic structure of a coal power plant. We just look at the main components. You have the turbine, which is used to turn the generator that generates electricity. You have the condenser, which condenses the steam that was used in the turbine. We then have the cooling tower. The cooling tower provides a cooling medium in the form of water into the condenser so that it will be able to condense the steam that comes from the turbine. We have the extraction pumps that takes water from the condenser into the storage tanks. We have the feed water pumps that takes the water via the heaters to your main drum furnace, or we call the boiler drum. Then we have the furnace. This is where the magic happens. That's where you convert your water that comes from the condenser back into steam. Then you send it back to your turbine. Then we have the air or the gas side. On the air side, we have the forced draft fan, or we call it an FD fan in short. It provides the ambient air from the atmosphere into the furnace. It follows two routes though. We have the first route, which is this one here, which we call it secondary air. Then we have the primary air route that is heated up using the air heater via the primary air fans, which is then used to transport the coal that is ground in the mill into the furnace where it burns. And then once that coal is burned, it then becomes ash. And some of the coal that didn't burn, or the particles that are left when coal is burned, is then extracted from the furnace using the IT fan, or what we call induced draft fan, out into the smokestack. So that's basically the layout, or the simple layout of the coal power plant. But how do everything starts? At first, we make up the water into the storage tank. And then once the water is sufficient into the storage tanks, we then take the water using the feed pumps into the drum, like I've already highlighted. The drum needs to be maintained at a certain level. Once that level is reached, we can then start the fire into the furnace. To start the fire in the furnace, you don't just use coal. You use propane, which is a gas that is used to easily start the fire. Once the fire is stable, using the propane basically is used as an igniting gas. Then once propane is used, it then introduce oil. Once there is a stable flame using oil, then later on we then introduce coal. So basically what happens is that the water that was brought in using the feed pumps is circulated in the drum via the pipes in the furnace. So after a certain time, the temperature goes up and the water will turn into steam. Once it has turned into steam at the right temperature and pressure, it will then be sent into the turbine. It turns the turbine, and the turbine is physically connected to the generator. The generator will then generate electricity, and that electricity will then send into our transformer. And the transformer we have here in this case is a step-up transformer. So we take the voltage that is generated by the generator and step it up and send to the transmission network. So that's basically the basics of how the power station works. So once the steam has been used in the condenser, will then in the turbine will then be taken by the condenser, which then condenses back into water. So basically we have a closed loop system from the turbine to condenser to storage tanks, feed water pumps, back to the drum, into the furnace, and then back to the turbine again. and that process repeats itself. But there are losses along the way. So once we lose water, we then make that water up. But that water needs to be cleaned, and there is a plant that we call the water treatment plant, which I didn't show in this diagram, but we'll cover it in the future videos. But that's basically the steam water side. Then we have the air side. On the air side, like I've already highlighted, the FD fan introduces the air. So the whole point, the whole purpose of the ID fan, this one here, is to maintain the furnace pressure. The furnace pressure is always maintained below atmospheric pressure, so that we'll be able to keep the particles of this fine PF that is grind by the mills. Yeah. So the question then comes, how do we then get coal into the station? The coal into the power station is brought either via the conveyor from the mine or using trucks, and that coal is temporarily stored into the bunkers, and those bunkers then send coal direct into the mills, and the mills grind that coal into fine powder, and using the primary air fan, which is sitting here, we then blow that fine powder into the furnace where it burns and then becomes ash, and then whatever smoke that remains will be extracted into the atmosphere. So the carbon issues and all those things are coming from the coal that is burnt. They are extracted using they are extracted using the smokestack. So what are the pros and cons of using coal as a source of energy? On the good side of things, coal is cheaper than other sources of energy. It's easy to store. You can store it in your stockpiles and use it later. When coal is burnt, it produces ash, and ash is easy to manage. It's also easy to burn coal. If there is an incident in a power station, they are easy to manage. However, on the flip side of things, coal is not renewable. Once it's burned, it forms ash, and you cannot take ash back and burn it or use it for producing any energy. There are also environmental impacts that are caused by the mining. Coal produces a lot, or the high number of greenhouse gases as compared to other sources of energy. There are health risks associated with working in a coal plant as well. Due to mining, you might need to move people that are located in the area where the coal has been identified. So South Africa, if you look at South Africa, for example, South Africa in 2022 produced around 255 million tons of coal. At the same time, the very same country, which is South Africa in this case, also produced carbon at a tune of 436 million tons. So you can see how much South Africa is contributing to greenhouse gases. But nonetheless, South Africa is still not even in the top 10 of carbon emitters. So you can imagine the countries that are in the top 10 of how much they are producing, of which you're looking at China, the USA, Japan, Germany, and the whole lot of them. South Africa also has an installed electricity capacity of around 58,000 megawatts, of which the biggest portion of that comes from the very same coal. So in as much as coal has its issues, there are also good things about it for a country like South Africa. Obviously, there are plans to move from coal into cleaner and renewable energies, and that will be a discussion for the future. If you enjoyed our video, please make sure that you give us a subscribe, you give us a like, you follow us, as well as make sure that your notification bell is hit so that you don't miss out on our videos. So we'll end here for today. Thank you for watching.